Good morning. It's a beautiful day here in Central Portugal. Now it actually is a little bit overcast this morning, but I think the sun is going to fight through these clouds in a little bit. And you can see signs of spring starting already. Look down there, there's an acacia or mimosa tree, and that's already started to flower. And actually that's where our little pooch, Mimosa, gets her name from. Mimo is named after the mimosa because, like the mimosa, she's a pretty little flower. But she's also an invasive species. She's invaded her way into our farm and into our lives. So we named her after the mimosa. And yeah, we wanted to have something Portuguese. Now, I know in Portugal they actually call a lot of a lot of cows are called mimosa, not dogs. And then this one's Edmundo, as you probably already know. It's unseasonably warm for this time of year. It's supposed to be winter right now. February is supposed to be like our coldest month. And yeah, we've had 19 degrees and sun for the last week or so. I think things are going to start sort of getting a little bit cooler again. We've got some rain forecast in a couple of days' time. But it's been keeping me really busy with mowing. So almost once a week now I've been mowing the lawn in here. And well, since we put up this fence, obviously it's difficult for me to get the mower out here through the vineyard. But I'm going to have a lot of mowing to do already in here. So yeah, I think that's a job that I'm going to be tackling a little bit later today. But yeah, I just can't believe that the signs of spring are already here. I mean, look at this. All of this yellow that you see in the distance, this is all acacia, mimosa, and this is all flowering already. Look, we've even got some more over there down by Joaquin's farm. And there's also lots of cherry trees that are going into blossom as well. I can't believe it. So that's not the only thing that's going into blossom. We also have our geese. Now our geese aren't even a year old yet and they're already starting to breed. So it's actually quite funny. The other day we caught them in their little pond over here, breeding. Now we keep the geese in this enclosure, this is where they were brought up, but we do actually keep the gate open, and so they do come out and they forage around in the field. We have our our farm dam just over here, so they can actually come around and they can swim in the dam, but they choose not to for some reason. And what you doing, Eddie? Oh, look how the one goose is trying to stop her from nipping him. Now actually this is something that I wanted to talk about. I got their sexes completely wrong. I thought that was the female, but the other one with the bump on the head was the male. And as it turns out, this is actually the male. So yeah, we got it wrong the whole way around. Right, come on Eddie, get away from the geese. I think Eddie's trying to discipline the geese and stop them from nipping us. Come on Eddie, this way. So yeah, things are looking quite different. I mean, this is the thing about living on the farm here, is that every single season is so sort of dramatically different, and things look so dramatically different. You know, it was only a couple of months ago where this was all just dry and dusty, and now it's all green and lush. It's starting to get really green. So we're going to have quite a few jobs coming up. You probably already know this is what we call Gina's lady garden. And we put this little fence around it to stop the chickens from getting in. And at the moment, obviously, it's looking terrible. It's winter, everything's died back. We've also come in here and we've also been pulling stuff out. But what we're going to do is get some nice horse manure and some compost and stuff, stick it in here and plant it up again. And these little areas here are all made by the chickens. So the chickens actually come here, they dust bathe in here and they dig. So we've got to fill all of these areas in. And yeah, we have a couple of nice little jobs. Another one as well is all of our grapevines. So you can see at the moment they're all unpruned and we've got to snip these back. Now, you don't prune them straight after the sort of summer. You actually got to wait a little while, and the reason why you wait is you need all of the sap to retreat back, and then you cut them, and you sort of, well, we'll probably show you that in another video, exactly how you cut them. But yeah, so we've waited, but the problem is that this weather's getting warm, so I don't think it's going to be very long until these things start to bud again, which is pretty crazy considering that we're in winter. We want to get these cut before then. And yeah, another area where I've got some work to do today is in the olive grove. So olive grove down here, that needs a lot of cutting. Cool, so let's take the doggies for a little stroll around. Here, just before we go, you can see, look, the geese can get out, and then they do what they do. Geese. All right, actually, I'm not going to go there now because Gina's office is just over here, and she's actually in a Zoom meeting, so I don't think I'm going to go there and make lots of noise with the geese. Cool, so yeah, just over here is our olive grove. I'll show you, as you can see, all of this is nice and cut. I did this not yesterday, the day before. It's all cut all the way around the house. I like to keep it like that. Where you can see this line over here is where we're going to be growing all of the hay for the straw bales, and obviously in the bottom field on the side of the house. Now, I was thinking of keeping this long and just letting this go long like the rest of the fields, and then when Joaquin comes to bale up the grass, then he can bale this up as well. But the thing is, it's not actually quality stuff. It's just like wildflowers and weeds and things like that. And also, it's going to get really tall. When he does actually cut the grass, you are sort of in fire season. So imagine if we've got all this long grass all the way through the fields, and where these olive trees are, then potentially we could have a big fire, and that fire could come through and wreck all of our olive trees. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to cut this. The problem is I don't really have the right stuff to cut it with. I've got a regular lawnmower that I've been using for like the last 4 years. It's just a regular lawnmower, and I've been cutting about 1/2 hectare with it for, you know, every single spring, every single summer, and obviously now, look, it's like we're in winter and I'm going to be using it. So this thing is pretty wrecked, and it's quite tall here. I mean, as you can see, look at this. This is like knee height. So I do have a strimmer. I'll probably have to come through here with the strimmer and cut it back, and then this whole area here, basically all the way down to the bottom field, give this a good old mow. You're probably wondering about our fence around the house that we did a couple of weeks back. It's working perfectly. We haven't had any dog escapes. There was an instance where Eddie ran into the fence at high speed and almost broke his way through it, but since he smashed into it, he hasn't done that again. And he did try digging a couple of little holes, but we sort of caught him in time and stopped him. And yeah, it's been perfect. It's been so much better than what it was before, because we were, you know, at any point in time the dogs could just run away and run out. And I feel that now that they've got this sort of fenced off area, now when I do take them outside, they treat it more like a walk, and they actually stay within the confines of the regular farm fences, and they don't sort of hop over and start going into neighbouring properties. So it's much, much better. Hey Mimo, is it better? Yes. Yeah, and speaking of little jobs that I'm going to have to do, we do actually still have some leftover olive branches from when all of these were pruned. And so we were burning stuff down here. I mean, obviously once you make a burning pile, like we've got a burning pile over there and one down there, that area just stays without any growth for at least a year. So you have these big ugly sort of circles. So I like to limit the amount that I make. I don't just make them all over the place. But what we're going to do with these two piles is we're going to take them down there to where the dam is, and we're going to make a burn over there. And the reason for that is because we actually do have a lot of stuff to burn over there. I'm going to do a little bit of a tidy up around the dam. We've got lots of dead stuff there, and we're also going to have a lot of clippings coming off the vines, and those are all going to have to be burned. So it's all kind of in this area. It's been a really strange winter. We have this El Nino weather system happening at the moment, so I believe it's going to give us a really hot summer. We have had quite a bit of rain, like our dams are filled up, our wells are filled up, so we're actually looking pretty good, but it's not as full as it was last year. Last year in December, the water came all the way up to this pole over here, and as you can see now, we're actually a couple of meters, well, quite a few meters below that. So let me go down there and try and figure it out. I've cut all these little paths down here. It was really overgrown here. So let me see. I would say from where the bottom of that pole is, we're looking at probably about 4 foot, 1.2 meters or so. So we're about 1.2 meters off the high mark that we had last year. But we still have a lot of rain coming, so April's going to rain a lot, and hopefully it'll go up quite a lot more. Now this dam does get quite low in the summertime. It's basically spring fed, so all of the springs underneath the ground fill this up and drop the level. Obviously rainfall does come in here, but there's no liner or anything like that, so you know, it's basically the groundwater level that fills this up. And as you can see, if the ground is over there, we're only what, about 2 meters, 2.5 meters from the surface, and there's all of this water. So yeah, I've been very busy with the strimmer. I don't know if you can hear in the background here. I can hear someone's got a strimmer on the go down there. But I've been cutting back all of this grass. I mean, this was completely overgrown. You actually couldn't get down here. But I think what I want to do is come here with the loppers, and well, we've got lots of stuff that needs to be cut around the dam. These are all old. I think this is called gest, and this is completely old, withered, dried. This is the sort of live version. It actually has really nice flowers in the spring. You get different colors coming out. But obviously this is completely dead, completely dry, and a real fire hazard. So we're going to take all of those out, all of these dead ones. Make ourselves a big bonfire, look. All of this around here. Lots and lots of this dead stuff. And what we will keep is this stuff here. It's called pussy willow, which always cracks me up. But we've got all of this growing on the inside of the dam, and we're going to keep that. Because what that does is provide lots of shade. In the summertime, when the sun arcs across the sky this way, imagine you're going to have sun, full sun all over this water for the entire day, and you'll get lots of algae and stuff. So I like to have that willow there, and it sort of protects it so you don't get an algae bloom. You also don't get that much evaporation. And yeah, it just makes it a better place for our fishies. And speaking of fishies, I can't see any. I did come down here the other day and I did see a couple, but I have a feeling that they're hiding quite deep down, because, yeah. But we've got some really big koi in here that we put in last summer, so I can't wait to see those. I'm surprised I haven't seen any yet. Actually, I can see a couple of little goldfish down there already. So everything's very peaceful and relaxed and beautiful, and yeah, 4.5 years in, I'm still absolutely loving living on a farm in Portugal and the lifestyle that it's afforded me. And yeah, I still feel very, very blessed. This is an area of the farm that, well, Gina makes little trails through here when she takes the dogs for walks, and she likes this little path here. And this, in a few months' time, is going to be probably waist high up to shoulder height. And as you can see at the moment, it's only about, 20-30 centimeters high. So I can't wait to see it like that. And we're going to get all of these beautiful little wildflowers coming out. At the moment, it only seems to be these ones, and there's not much variety. But I'm hoping that we've got enough seeds in the ground so that it'll come up nicely for next year. Got a little bit of chamomile over there. Sorry, did I say it'll come up nicely for next year? I mean, it'll come up nicely for spring. This is our front field, and when we bought the farm, this was probably our worst field in terms of soil quality. I don't know if you can see, but there's just lots of sort of granite in here and stuff. And we found that the grasses never really grew very well. And for the last 4.5 years, obviously Joaquin's been coming and he's been tending to these fields. So he's been doing a light till, he's been adding sheep manure and some organic material and stuff like that. And it's looking so much better. I mean, this was completely patchy and terrible before. And now we've just got really, really nice areas of just thick grass. It's actually growing better than most of our other fields. It's funny, but every single time that I walk down here, every single time without fail, I have to look inside the well. This is the agricultural well, the one for irrigation, and yeah, look how full that is. So that over there, this pipe coming out is at ground level, and if you look, there's a little grey brick just over there. That grey brick is the high water mark, so the highest it's ever been, or the highest it can ever get. And we were there a couple of weeks ago, but it has dropped a bit. We've got this little overflow drain over there, and so that's why it can't get any higher than that. And It's actually quite cool because there's a little snake that lives in here, and he lives on that ledge, and he lives on that little pipe, or he goes inside the pipe sometimes. And he's a little viperine water snake, so he keeps all of the frogs in check. We've got loads and loads of frogs in here, and tadpoles and fish and things like that. I'm not sure if the camera's picking them up, but they're all over the place. And so this is his entire little world living in here, and that's the only place where he can get out. But he seems to be quite happy. Speaking of frogs, the frogs have also started coming out. Now, usually they come out in spring or sort of April time. April is when we have like a huge amount of rainfall, and they usually come out in April. It's a lot warmer then. And then obviously when they do spawn, then well, then you're going to have lots of little baby frogs, tadpoles. Now the problem is they've already started spawning now, and things are going to get quite cold. So you might find that a lot of those little babies don't survive, and it's going to impact the frog population this year. So yeah, hopefully they'll have another spawning after that, but I'm not too sure. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's Eddie running along the front there chasing a car. That's his favorite thing in the world to do. So yeah, it's a peaceful little existence over here. I do enjoy it, away from it all. Hello, my boy. And I don't know, it's quite nice that you don't have to sort of, you know, rush into stuff like, you know, you've got to cut the lawn, but it's not like it has to happen right now, or at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., 10 p.m. I mean, it can happen anytime you want, you know. It's a very chilled existence. The only thing that desperately does have to be done is pruning these vines, because I think we are getting very close to them starting to sprout. But yeah, whether or not I actually pick up a lawnmower today and do the olive grove, well, that still has to be decided. Yeah, we've got some more jobs to do in this front section here. We've got these raised planters, and we need to plant those up again. But at the moment, the geese are so tall that they can actually get all of the plants inside there, so we haven't bothered. We've kind of left them empty. The geese have eaten everything. The geese have also broken into our greenhouse, so they've basically destroyed everything. So all of this has to be planted up. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit of sheep fencing, so like this stuff, and I'm going to go down in a straight line to the house there so that the geese can't get through. And don't worry, Eddie, come on. Come on, Eddie. Eddie, come on. Yeah, this is what geese do. Look, the one goose is trying to stop him from doing it. Like, no, don't do it. All right, come on, Eddie. Yeah, so I'm a little bit sidetracked with all this goose action going on. You know, the geese actually aren't that bad. Like, if you walk in there, the geese do come up and they kind of nip on your trousers and stuff, but they kind of know who you are. They know that you give them food, and they know that you know, corral them around, so they don't try and bite you properly. But sometimes with Eddie, they do grab hold of his cheeks and stuff like that and really upset him. So, and I think all he's trying to do is sort of protect us. So he's a good boy. So I made this little path. It's like a little road that goes down to our bottom field. I like to keep this here because, well, we normally park our camper van down in this bottom field. But this year I'm not doing that because I don't actually have a place to put him in this bottom field, because it's all going to be full of grass. I'm not going to cut anything back there this year. I'm basically trying a slightly different look. Before, I was doing lots of cutting around, well, like around the farm, before we had this fence line going around the house. And now I think I'm going to focus most of my mowing and all of my effort onto, you know, on the inside of that fence line. And then I'm going to let the rest of it go a little bit more sort of natural. I mean, obviously, as I said, I am going to be cutting the grass in this olive grove, but I'm only going to be cutting it now. I'm not going to be sort of doing that every single week. I'm just going to sort of cut it back just to make sure it doesn't get too long, which is actually going to be perfect. It's nice and relaxed. You know, otherwise I was mowing like hectares of land with a little push mower, a little push mower that's in really bad condition and messed up now, you know. This is one of my favorite fields. I just love how everything grows down here. It looks really, really different this year because before we got these pruned, I mean, I would say these are probably about 3 meters tall now, but before we got them pruned, they actually went up about 5 or 6 meters, and you actually couldn't really see anything through it. It was just thick branches and leaves. So it has changed a bit. And as I said, like this area where I used to keep this all cut so I could park the camper van down here, I'm just going to let this all grow. So this is going to get sort of waist high. And judging by the looks of it, he's got a mixture of wheat and oats. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's probably oats. Could be some wheat in here or some barley. Yeah, it's getting really long here, the grass. It's awesome. So this little corner over here is actually the lowest point of our farm, and normally this time of year we have lots and lots of water that pulls up here because we have lots of rain. That hasn't really happened this year, but I think, you know, we still have April. April is like a time of lots and lots of rain. You can actually see there's a slightly different color on the grass here, I think because it is quite waterlogged there. And that whole area actually floods. It almost becomes like a mini lake, which is really awesome to see. I love coming down here with, you know, when it's like that, coming down here with cameras and stuff and watching like the herons and the different birds all catching frogs and wading in the water. So it's kind of a little bit sad to see it like this, but I think it is still quite normal. You know, it's not quite the rainy part yet, and I think in April, I think that's when this is all going to get completely waterlogged and like a little lake. But where we do have water is actually in this drainage ditch. It's like a little stream that flows through. At the moment it's quite stagnant, so it's not looking the cleanest, but actually it's just algae. It's not dirty or anything like that. And as you can see, the dogs really enjoy it. Is it nice, Eddie? Yeah, slime. Dog slime. Do you know what I've learned in the last 4.5 years of owning this farm is that nature doesn't really fit with a calendar. So, you know, people go, oh, April is the month of rains and all of that. Yeah, sure, it does, you know, it does happen. There are sort of agricultural calendars or farming calendars of where you should plant things, and, you know, but at the end of the day, nature kind of does its own thing. It's been very, like, wildly different years. You know, we've had droughts, we've had floods. Well, we haven't had floods, but we've had flooded areas. We've had storms, we've had, you know, blue skies and no wind. You know, we've basically had it all, and every single year has been completely different. But the one thing that I've noticed is that there's always a balance at the end of it. So whenever we've had tons and tons of water, then we've had, you know, lots and lots of dry, and, you know, lots of heat, and then we've had lots of cold, and there always seems to be like a middle point where things kind of balance out. And I think that's, well, I think that's kind of normal in nature, you know. If you look at things on a small scale, then you start to freak out and you go, oh, it's getting too hot, it's getting too dry, or it's flooding, or whatever it is. But when you actually look at it over, you know, 4 or 5 years, over that sort of El Nino weather pattern cycle, things tend to even themselves out and balance out. And I think part of the reason for that is because, as you can see around here, this is not commercially farmed. This is all just small, mostly organic little fields of grass growing, a couple of sheep eating things, and you know, we don't have huge operations like pumping tons and tons of water out of the ground and spraying chemicals and things like that. And I'm pretty sure that that makes the world a difference. Shame, this poor lavender plant. I actually think this is called lavandula, not lavender, but it's basically, when we moved in on the farm, it was growing all along this row here, and now there's not very much of it left because it's quite high up between the two fields. And in the summertime it gets so bone dry that there's just absolutely like no moisture. All of the moisture is wicked out, and so it's really struggling, and it's very far away for us to get some kind of watering thing down here, and so it's kind of got to fend for itself. And I think we've just had some exceptionally dry years for the past couple of years, but yeah, it's amazing stuff. It smells incredible. In South Africa we used to have this cream called camphor cream, which has got camphor oil, which I believe they get from that, and it smells just like that. It's really strong. So yeah, this is what the Portugal farm life is all about this time of year. It's quite nice and peaceful. Most of the, well, all of the field work and stuff was done months ago, weeks ago. Now you just sort of sit back and wait for it to grow, go on nice long walks and enjoy the scenery and the peaceful vibe and the tweeting birds. I'm not sure if you can hear those actually, because I'm wearing this little lapel mic that doesn't generally pick that up. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't swap this for the world, you know. Well, there might be some things I might swap it for. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, the grass always does look greener on the other side, but I'm certainly not swapping this for my life back in the UK, where I had to go, 9 to 5 work, and yeah, definitely not going back there again. I really hope that I never ever have to do that again. But you never know what the future holds. You never know what's happening, on a global scale. The world's a pretty crazy place right now. So I think the safest place for me to be right now is, you know, right here on a farm where I have the potential to grow all of my own food if need be. And I have a large amount of space around me, which proved really invaluable during the sort of lockdowns, because you know, when everyone else was stuck in their apartments, we had all of this land that we could walk around on, and we didn't feel like we were sort of holed up. So yeah, I think I'm in the best place for whatever may happen, and yeah, I'm super grateful for it. Yeah, people do actually often ask why we aren't growing all of our own food and stuff here, and the answer to that is that, you know, when we first arrived in Portugal, prices were really low on everything. You know, it was a lot cheaper to go to a supermarket or put in fuel and do all of those things. And, you know, the types of things that we can grow here, like vegetables and things like that, are just still quite cheap in the shops. And the amount of effort, time, money, and water that you have to put in to keep those crops growing all year round, it's quite a lot, you know, especially in summertime when it's like 40 degrees plus and the ground is just like bone dry and you're pumping water out of the ground to try and keep those crops alive. So, you know, it kind of, the fact that we have the ability to do it is good enough for me right now. You know, we have had little experiments where we've tried to grow crops and things like that in, you know, raised beds, and then we got geese and the geese ate all of the plants and things like that. So, you know, for the time being, I think we will probably plant them up again. We'll give it another go, but it's not going to be, you know, for us to eat everything, all of our meals out of. It's going to be more like, you know, grow some tomatoes and cucumbers and things like that that we can use in salads. But, you know, we're not going to try and see if we can feed ourselves 100% off, you know, just off the fields and stuff like that here, because that's a full-time job and that's not something that's 100% necessary right now. If it becomes necessary, different story. But for right now, you know, we have quite a good lifestyle out here where we don't have to sort of break our backs tending to fields and doing things like that. And obviously, if all hell breaks loose globally, well, then we have the ability to do it if need be. So yeah, that's the reason. All right, well, I think I'm gonna get the doggies, lock them back up. Look, this is their prison. What an awful prison they have. Look at this green area over here in nature with all these beautiful views. Those poor dogs, they've got such a hard life. The poor little creatures. And yeah, I'm going to say goodbye and I'm going to start all of this mowing. So wish me luck. It's going to take a good couple of hours. And we'll see you next time. All the best. Ciao.